Our first tipping point discussion takes us into Maryland's classrooms, or more specifically, bathrooms. As publicly funded pre K expands, Maryland now requires teachers to help potty train children. Most people agree that children with developmental or medical challenges deserve appropriate support, but many parents remember a time when children were expected to be potty trained before entering school. Supporters argue that schools must meet children where they are. Critics argue that teachers are being asked to assume responsibilities that traditionally belong to parents. So, where is the line between teaching children and raising them? Have we reached a tipping point where teachers are increasingly expected to take on responsibilities once handled at home? Mark, I'm going to start with you. According to recent reporting, Maryland is the only state that specifically directs teachers themselves to assist students with toileting and potty training as part of their curriculum. Is this a fair use of the teacher's time and talent? And should we be, or could we rather, be on a slippery slope of basically letting the state raise our children?
So I think this actually raises one of the flaws to one of the marquee components of the Maryland Blueprint, the expensive education plan, which is to have pre-K. So there's a strong argument in educational circles that we may be starting education too soon. That the idea that starting education in kindergarten, before kindergarten, makes sense. And there is a movement for red shirting, that is, particularly for boys who developmentally may not be ready to start school, to delay the entry into school at a time that's really appropriate. Now, it's hard to generalize, but if you're not potty trained, you're probably not in a developmental point where it makes sense to be in the educational system. So to answer your question, yeah, no, I think it's really something that we ought to be able to look at as to whether or not we're starting school for some kids too soon.
Thanks, Mark. And Cary, let's talk about the child's experience. Children can be wonderfully accepting, but they can also be merciless. So if a child is still wearing a diaper in pre-K or kindergarten or having frequent accidents that disrupt class activities, are we helping that child succeed, or are we unintentionally setting them up for embarrassment, teasing, and social challenges in the classroom?
Pre-K in the context that you're talking about is really nothing more than glorified daycare. Unfortunately, the Kerwin Commission didn't, I think, consider all of the dynamics as it relates to little children and a litigious society. We've already seen it in upper classes where there has been inappropriate behavior from teachers, from a principal, etc., and millions of dollars worth of litigation. And when you get into the pre-K, you could actually see that occur. I mean, who's to say, what touching is when we're talking about potty training? I think that unfortunately, the Kerwin Commission has created this monstrosity that's going to increase costs to our public, to our school budget exponentially. We're seeing it, and I don't think they took into consideration all of the potential consequences.